Good evening, everyone.
Bonsoir.
So tonight we're really excited. We're meeting with Sarah Larbi to talk about.
Analyzing a deal.
Yeah, we forgot the topic. That's why.
No, but I was actually with a meetup group called Invest Her, talking about how we usually analyze deals, and we thought it'd be great to chat about it with Sarah.
And she's gonna talk to us about her BRRRR calculator as well. So if you're thinking about doing a BRRRR, which is buy,
Renovate,
renovate.
rent, refinance, repeat.
Yeah, I should get it, but anyway, one day I'll get it. But the calculator is really helpful, so it helps you, well, calculate if it's worth it, because there are some criteria you have to respect, a bit like a flip. It is kind of a flip instead. The biggest difference is, yeah, that's it, you're flipping it to yourself, and you keep it. So instead of selling it, well, you keep it. You sell it to the bank, so you finance it, you refinance it with the bank, so that's it. So BRRRR. So we have the BRRRR queen coming on to tell us about her and how to analyze deals. And we'll keep it short tonight. We've all been very busy, a busy Monday.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Good evening.
Hello, Sarah.
Hello.
I need to raise this thing.
Oh yeah, because now it's just like cut off our heads a bit.
There you go.
How are you tonight?
Here now. Awesome. How you guys doing?
Good, thanks.
Yes, we're looking forward to talking to you about your BRRRR calculator and how you analyze a deal. Maybe we'll share a few thoughts about it as well.
Yes.
Before that, I will say cheers. I don't know.
Oh, yes, we don't even have any wine with us.
But you don't say.
You don't care.
Wow.
Funny. Yeah, so you know what? It's funny because Francois, we're like, what topic do we want to do tonight? And he said, let's do the analysis and the fundamentals. I'm like, you know what? Fundamentals are great. And why don't we just go through, like, I have a list of like 10 fundamentals that I actually look at and analyze when I pick an area or when I pick a property. And I'm sure you guys have some fundamentals that you want to talk to as well. So maybe start with that, and then I can, maybe go through the BRRRR calculators in some detail, but just essentially when I put deals through, that's what I use to figure out, do I want to buy this? Do I not want to buy this? I don't know. And Jennifer, you're really good at analyzing. That's what Francois says. Like, he's like the one that go, and you're like, wait, we got to analyze this deal and see if it works and if it makes sense, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So okay, so do you want to start then maybe and talk about let's start with the fundamentals. Let's go through maybe when you're looking at an area, because I know you guys recently bought in Nova Scotia. What are some of the things, the market fundamentals or whatnot, that you were looking at to make your purchase?
Yeah, I think it's really important to look at exactly a certain market and make sure that the market's worth investing in, kind of like you said. So I think that it's important to know that there's jobs, that there's development, that there's construction. How much is the city investing? I think those are all important things to kind of look at. And then, is it a renter's market? Is it more people that are buying? So I think that's kind of a good thing. I always like to do secondary markets that are slightly more renters than buyers, because I think it's a good market to invest in.
Yeah, good tenant culture. So we always mention that. It's kind of maybe redundant for those that know us, but yeah, the tenant culture is very important because you want good tenants, and like Jennifer said, people that work. Nothing against people that don't work. I don't work, but anyway, and you don't work. But we work anyway. We earn our money.
Created an enough income for you not to work the 9 to 5, which is pretty cool.
Yes. It's more of a joke, but anyway, and students. So you do want a good student population. You also want hospitals. So healthcare is huge. Some cities where we buy, there's multiple hospitals, which is nice for like short-term, medium-term rentals. You can do furnished rentals. You want the city, like Jennifer said, infrastructure, so investing in roads and whatever is needed.
I think it's also good to have a slightly younger population. Like, I think that the average age in Canada is a little bit high, but a lot of the secondary markets that we look at, the average age is closer to 40. So I think it's good to have
30
kind of that
something
in mind.
In some places.
Yeah, just because they're usually more renters are younger. before they settle down and have
buy
a
a
place
house.
and everything. So that's another thing that we often look
I
at.
would say if you guys are listening to this, you want to write this down. If you don't know how to analyze a market, like you guys are saying some really awesome stuff right now, some great gold mines. You know, these are great fundamentals. Write down the fundamentals, because this is the research that we do as investors in order to figure out, is this market good? Is this area good? Is this sub-market good to invest in, or are we passing? So, I mean, you're saying some great things. So let's keep going with your fundamentals. Then I'll touch on mine as well. I think there's a lot that are very similar of the things that I look for that you're mentioning as well.
It's good to speak to your lender too. Do lenders go out there? So at the Right Club, we had some really interesting people from Northern Canada, from Yukon and Northwest Territories. That was great, but I don't know if you heard, Sarah, but only a few lenders land out there. So that makes it complicated. So if your strategy is the BRRRR, and you know BMO is one of the rare lenders out there, well, maybe it's not a great market. And like tertiary markets, sometimes it's hard to get B lenders or alternative lenders to go out. So that's something you have to check. Insurance too. So always ask your insurance, can you insure properties
In that
wherever?
area,
Yeah. So, and some smaller markets, I mean, there's a lot of fires. So insurance for fire is much higher in small towns. So you have to think about that too. So
Hurry, I don't know how you would insure that for fire in Fort McMurray. I don't know. I have no idea.
yeah.
A price.
What about you?
So yes, I have like 10. I mean, some of them are like you guys mentioned. I think the first one for me, when I look at a market, there are 10 things that I look at. The first one is population. Is it increasing? Is it decreasing? What are the trends? You know, is the population, like you said, you know, age range? That's also important. Like, we don't want to be investing in a town where it's like, you know, 60 plus or 50 plus. I mean, and everybody's getting out of that, you know, are younger. So population increases. I look at that. Then the second thing I look at is transportation and what the improvements are. Are there additional bus routes? Is there a GO train? Is there planned, you know, improvements in LRT routes or whatnot? That is like the second thing that I look at. And of course, there's like probably like 10 somethings in the transportation, but that's number 2. Number 3, I look at location and proximity to other markets. There are some great markets, but to go to anywhere else, it's like a 2-hour drive. I probably personally wouldn't invest in those markets. I like to be able to have a sub-market. If I'm, you know, investing in a secondary market or a tertiary market, I want like another large market nearby. Because that's probably where people are going to go for jobs and that kind of stuff, right? Number 4, look at post-secondary education. I don't do student rentals, but I'll tell you, when you're purchasing properties and there is a university or a college, a lot of the bigger properties are being purchased to rent out by the room to students. And I think there's some opportunity there to be able to get some, you know, maybe 3 or 4 bedroom units or houses, and rent those at a premium if you're around a school where a lot of things are just rented by the room to students. But it also brings in, you know, fresh people, more people, post-secondary education. I mean, what I'll also look at is, like, does the university have any projections on how many more students they want to bring on? Because they're going to need houses. That's going to create a supply and demand issue, right? For the better. And the 5th thing I look at is I look at industry and workforce and job data. I do not want to be investing in a town that has one main employer. And if that employer goes overseas or shuts down, then what happens to the jobs of all of those people? They're probably gone. So I do want to have something with multiple, you know, types of industries or multiple employers, and not everybody in the same job. And I look at home sales data. So I'll look at like ratios, how long it's been on the market, how long things stay on the market, you know, and then the next thing, the number 7, I look at rental data. And, you know, what's the 5-year, what's the 10-year, what's the 3-year, 1-year increase year over year, what the vacancy rate is, right? Because a lot of the stuff is different in the US versus Canada. Like, you could do really well in US, but vacancies are like 8 to 12%. Here, it's a whole different problem, right? We have a shortage issue, but you know, I do like to analyze that. And then number 8, I look at when new construction and development is happening in the area. That means it's usually good if large companies are coming into the area or if big developers are coming into the area. That's always positive as an investor. Number 9, I look at financial changes, any interest rates, any new rules. Who knows what's going to happen? Like, this market is insane right now. At some point, maybe the lenders will step in and start changing the rules, and that may change a little bit as well. And then the 10th thing I look at is the overall state of the economy, and all that stuff. So basically there's subsections in each of those, but those are really the 10 main pieces of the pie that I look at when it comes to analyzing fundamentals. And a lot of your research yourself, you're gonna have to Google it. You're gonna have to go and see the CMHC website, and there's other resources as well, and work with your team to get you that data, and then really hone in on a market, right? Just really become that expert in that market so that when there is a deal, you've done the analysis, you know it's a deal, you actually know it's good, and then you can take action. So that's kind of, from my perspective, the things that I look at.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And knowing your market, you can analyze a deal within 5 or 10 minutes, if it's worth it or not.
Yeah, because you become, like you said, experts. This street is good, but that one isn't. I saw a comment or question from someone in New York City. Let's see. Who was it? Oh. I really want to get started. I live in New York City and want to invest out of state. So Isa Christoph, something like that. So I wonder, out of state for sure. Like, we do out of province and out of country. Sarah, do you do out of province?
Not yet. I just bought some land to build a resort. I'm going to be very busy with that probably for the next couple years, building these really cool, like, themed cottages. They're all going to be different. There's going to be 15 of them. So I'm really going to focus on that probably for the next couple years, because it is going to be a big job, and it's going to be super fun. However, once you guys move out over there into the East Coast, let me know, because you're starting a property management company. It's always important to work with people that you know and that you trust. So if you tell me that something's good and it's a good buy, send it over my way. I will do the analysis. But if you guys are out there, I may be more inclined to invest out there.
Yeah, and it's fun to invest away from where you live. So that person lives in New York City. So I'm sure there's a really nice lifestyle at a city. And like you're close to Toronto. So let's say you move downtown, you want the lifestyle. You could become a tenant yourself and then buy properties and rent where you live. So I also see Jag Properties asking us about investing in real estate. I'm really surprised. I think that guy needs some training.
I feel like I'll follow.
So one thing that he did right was team, and I think that's a big part of investing far away. It could be out of province, out of state. It could be just like, I'm sure you're not beside your cottages all year round, so you're still investing from afar. And I think that it's important to have good systems or teams or both in place.
Absolutely. And you know what? I 100% agree with you. I just had this happen to me yesterday, and I posted it on my stories. And it's not like the worst thing. It's just really annoying. This one tenant who had 4 good prior reviews on Airbnb, and like, that's how I kind of gauged them. Communication was good. He left the place a disaster that my cleaner, saying this was the worst cleanup that she's had to do in the last 3 years of working with us.
No.
I was like, so we gave him usually we charge extra for bed sheets and stuff like that, and I kind of throw it into get extra points, and I usually do. And he's like, oh, thank you so much. We'll make sure to leave the place so nice and clean. They played beer pong inside. The cleaner was how sticky the floor was. There were bottles everywhere. I'm like, I have to leave you a horrible review, and not horrible, professionally horrible. But back to the team, how it's about the team. If I didn't have my cleaner and I had to clean myself, oh my God, I would be so angry right now.
He's shaking.
So she was good. In hindsight, I don't know if there's anything I could have actually done to prevent this. I definitely gave him a bad review. He had 4 prior good reviews before that, but I'll tell you, my team makes it a lot better, because they fix things for me. there on, you know, feet on the street and kind of probably like you guys, right? Like you've got a ton of properties out east right now, and you got a good team on the street to help you with that. You know, maybe give us a little bit more about that.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So yeah, like you said, it kind of diffuses as well the anger when you hit a snag. So especially like us too, even as a team, sometimes I'm fed up with something, Jennifer takes over, or the opposite. She's angry about something and I take over. You do the tenant screening, it's your turn.
But I think that it's important to have a team, like you said, that kind of diffuses problems. So I mean, sometimes they call us and they, like a member of our team will call us, they already have the solution. They're just letting us know. And it's like, that's perfect. Bye.
Run with it. Like, yeah, today, one of our properties, there was a bit of water in the basement, but the guy said this place is much older and it was in a trough, and he had a solution and everything. So it wasn't, it wasn't anything surprising. He just had a solution, and that's just great. So importance of having a team, and absolutely.
So here's a question, like, one of the things I think, you know, on Instagram, there's a lot of like, oh, like rah, like, you know, like this is like my success and like that kind of stuff. But what is like a shitty situation that happened to you and you're like, do I really want to be an investor right now? Like, let's talk about.
Oh yeah, horror stories.
Yes. Well, I think that there's a few, but you can decide early on if you're gonna just
long term or short term.
You're gonna put on your big girl pants and do it, or not. So I mean, we've had investors pull out like 2 minutes before closing on a deal.
Oh yeah, that one was
We've
special.
had like horror tenants, difficult tenants.
The investor pulling out right before you close. So walk us through, like, just like quickly, like maybe like just some bullet points. What the hell happened?
Yeah, so that
they had like a family situation where anyway they couldn't invest with us anymore, and it was a lot. It was $100,000, and we had to figure out what we were going to do in 2 weeks.
2 weeks to find $100,000. And we were still fairly new, like we weren't used to raising that kind of money. Like 50,000 was kind of our limit, so 100 is double. And then got 2 weeks. We had an awesome deal in Ottawa, which you can't get. It's red hot, but we got underpriced and everything.
And we had already waived our conditions, so we had no choice. We were already all in.
It's that, or we're moving in and we're becoming tenants and losing our house or something. So anyway, we started calling our network. We canceled our plans because we were renovating our house, so that was scrapped. And then that's it. So it's not all pretty and beautiful and everything's great and wonderful. There's a lot of challenges, but what's fun about it is that it's your dream. So you're working towards your dream. And we shared a bit of that on our social media. Our kids too, they're like, oh, this is annoying, all these properties. But then I showed them, well, look at that. You were able to shop for furniture and stuff all the time because we're staging, we're doing this, we're doing that. So that part's nice.
So your own reno got kiboshed because of this?
Yeah, because so what happened is we found a lender for 50,000, and then the other 50 we put in. We could have pursued even more, but we're like, well, we have it in the bank. And this renovation doesn't really need to happen anyway. And thank goodness we didn't do it because we actually sold our house. And I think the renovation we were going to do wouldn't have really increased the value. Like it would have been good for us, but not for the buyer. Because I think whoever bought our place and they're moving in a few months, it's going to be their forever home. So anyway, we were adding a basement suite because it's a walkout. And I think in your forever home, you don't want tenants. So, but we never buy forever homes. We always buy, can I sell it quick? That's our question. If I can sell it quickly, then we're in. We can move in today.
So what's your story, Sarah?
A horror story.
I feel like this is the good stuff. Like, we gotta be sharing this stuff that happens more often. I have so many stories. Like, especially when I started. Okay, so when you don't know what you don't know. So, I mean, it ended up being okay, but it could have been a friggin' disaster. So in the very beginning, I think this was probably our third house. Okay, so the first one was my sister-in-law. That's a whole other story on its own. The second one, we found the tenant on Kijiji. She's still there to this day. Amazing tenant. Amazing.
Oh, okay, good.
The third one, we're like, let's switch it up a little bit. And we decided to do this open house. Okay, don't do open houses for tenant screening in Ontario. So we had this open house and people came, and then this one last couple came through. They took the application, and like, this is not how you screen tenants. I think my whole tenant screening process actually started from this one right there, because being done before they come to your house. So they came, just the two of them, and they're like, oh, we love this house. Like, it was a nice big house. We've got like, I think they had like 7 kids. I kid you not, they had 7 kids. Oh, and then just like, you know, they were telling us the sob stories, like,
oh, no.
Yeah, I know, right? And because we did not know any better, we gave them a chance, okay? And her, the worst thing ever, but her teeth was like, it was like this like thing in my gut or in my head that was like, don't rent to her. There's something wrong with her teeth. I know this sounds horrible, but it ended up being like, you know how like meth addicts or like people that are on drugs, like their teeth are fucked, right?
Yeah, there you go.
But so they're and I was like, I'm not really sure what that is. Like, if people smoke, I don't smoke. So like with nicotine, is that what that does? Or if they don't have good hygiene, or they don't have like good like teeth, I didn't want to judge her, but I'm like, something seems really off. And the guy had a criminal record.
Oh,
boy. So he actually told us about it.
Okay, and he's upfront, which is possible, but yeah.
It's, you know, we were so new. We were so new back then. And he told us that it was a DUI. So I'm like, well, you drink and drive. Like, it's not the smartest thing, but at least it's not like robbery or like fraud.
Murder.
You know, so we're like, oh, I feel like you guys deserve a chance. That is like we do not do chances anymore. So we're like, we feel like you guys deserve a chance. Like, let's, you know, like, we'll help you. So they moved in. So we actually ended up like signing the lease and everything with them. And they lasted maybe 4 or 5 months. And at some point it just started being very weird where like, she wasn't paying on the first, and then I was supposed to communicate with her, the drug addict. And she wasn't communicating with me, and I was like, you know what, like, we have to start like issuing these N4s, like, we've got to start like doing this stuff. And then when I asked him, he had no idea what she was doing, not paying, like, he thought she was paying the whole time, and I'm like, what the F is going on? And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna have to, like, you know, legally work on evicting you. And
Wow.
Long story short, like, the sketchiness lasted a couple months, and it turned out she got back into the meth or whatever it was that she was on drugs about. They broke up. She moved out, luckily, and he was there, left in that house. And I'm like, oh crap, like, he's not going to be able to pay by himself. Like, we qualified them both together. And you know, it could have gone really bad, but here's what we did, is that we're like, you know what, you're a really good tenant, we want to help you, why don't you leave earlier, we'll give you your last month's rent back, so you have that to start over. And luckily it worked, and he ended up moving out with his parents, and we gave him his last month's rent, and we're just like, please just leave. And it worked. And we're like, hey, if ever you want to come back, like, we want to leave it like open, right? If ever you want to come back, you were really good, like, just let us know. I mean, you know, her not so much, but you he was a little better. Anyways, from there on, I'm like, I need a like lease screening process or tenant screening process, because this shit can happen, and chances are done. I'm not giving people chances. They can go, and somebody else can give them chances. It's not going to be me. But anyways, like, something like that has to happen, and I've never shared this story before, but something like that has to happen for things to change, for your procedures to like actually evolve, because otherwise I don't think, you know, if you never make mistakes along the way, and you never have shit that happens to you along the way, you're never going to be able to improve. You're never going to be able to grow. You're never going to be able to learn. So in a way, I'm glad that this happened. I'm so glad that, like, he was willing to move out after all this crap happened. But, you know, blacklist forever. Like, they are not moving back into any of my properties. And funny enough, he called me maybe 6 months afterwards, because I'm like, yeah, if you ever want to, you know, come back in another place that we have, let us know. And he actually called me. He's like, do you have any other place? I'm like, no, I don't. I don't. Even so nice where they think that there's the door that potentially could be open, they may not try to screw you over as much. So look, it worked out for us, but like, never again do I ever want to do that again. So then I started building a whole process of like tenant screening, and now it's like, you know, it's hardcore, and you got a sob story. Sorry, you got to go.
Oh yes, run. When you hear that, run. There's no friends in business. It's very true here. So yeah, there are friends, but not tenants.
Yeah, but that's such a good thing that you learned your lesson kind of
Early
the hard
on.
way, but it could have been worse.
Yeah.
It's worse for sure. And here's the thing. I know this sounds horrible, but trust your gut. Teeth don't seem right. It's probably trust your gut. It's probably
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I feel like it's drug related, and I don't want to get in trouble for saying that, but like most of the time, it looked like drug teeth, and I should have just trusted my gut back in the day.
We have another horror story if you have a minute still. This one's different.
Are you guys
okay?
Guys, put yes if you want to hear more horror stories. We'll share them.
Yeah, I saw some comments earlier. People liked it, so that's good. Esther.
For horror stories.
Put in a yes. So this one tenant was actually super good, like scary good tenant, and it turned out like to be a horror story in the fact that she was super demanding, calling every day, every week, constantly. There's something to be fixed at all times. Like everything was neat, but it was like beyond like mental.
It really got to the point where we're like, oh my goodness, it's been 3 days that we haven't heard from her. What's wrong?
And I was always stressed. The phone's gonna ring and I'm gonna see. And she had the same name as my mom, and I'm gonna go crazy. So yeah, scary good. So yeah, there's some really bad, like the unfortunately the cracked teeth. We've seen that. We have one. We're still living with that person in one of our places. 16 months in eviction right now. 16 or 17? 16, yeah. We're probably going to sell the place with the person in it. But the other one was super bad, like good, but bad. And she ended up breaking up with her boyfriend. So kind of like your situation there. And then she called us, sob story. I'm like, yes, do you want to leave? We'll break your lease. We're going to be generous and let you go. No problem. No hard feelings.
You know, you never know what you get into, right? I mean, it's part of the business for sure. I mean, you know, again, like you can have some great experiences. I think overall the experiences are great because we keep doing this to ourselves.
Yes.
We're either crazy or it's not so bad.
So now, yeah, we have well, we have an application. First of all, when you send the application, most people just disappear. So that you drop half. Then we have the phone screening, and I send the bad cop to do the phone screening. So then you drop.
One.
Yeah.
Nice.
We use Neighborly, or there's Landlord Credit Bureau. That also drops a whole bunch of people because, yeah, you see their credit score and social media, what they're doing, and yeah.
And it sounds like a lot of work, but it really does save a lot of headaches. Like I just think that we probably saved ourselves like a million other headaches. Just after the horror stories, you're thinking, how many other horror stories would we have had if we didn't put in that tenant screening? Yeah.
Especially in Ontario. So if you're in a province where it's more landlord friendly, then you should still do it, but you don't have to because you can evict people in some provinces within.
They can still trash the place.
Yeah, they can trash. Yeah, they can still trash it. So, and even the damage deposits in some provinces, you have to claim it, and that's a whole
another ball game. But I think that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's tons of stories. Like we could probably actually have a 2-hour conversation about this, like just all the crap that happens. And I'll tell you, sometimes it's neighbors. Like we've had, like we were doing a small outside deck wasn't even lifted, and we had the city called on us, and we had to go get permits. We weren't doing it with permits because it was literally just like the outside. And one of the neighbors had called on us that we were doing like a little porch on the front, and like literally it was a flat porch because somebody called on him. I'm like, what the fuck? Anyway, that same house, there's like a house, like I feel like it's cursed. And the neighbor from across the street, the tenants was moving out, not one of her tenants, but a different tenant. And she had tons and tons of garbage. And I guess the landlord asked her to like clean everything, and she just put all the garbage on our yard. We're like, what? And so we're renovating that property at that time, right? And so my father-in-law, because he used to do a lot of renovations in the beginning, he used to tell us, and he told us about it. And we asked him to like search in the garbage if you could find any mail, and then it just linked back to that house. So I asked him to just put it all back on the doorstep, and then the landlord came, and I think he was really pissed because that tenant didn't clean up, right? We put it on the porch. We're like, it's not our garbage to like deal with, like screw that. Yeah. But like just like some small stuff like that, right? Like it's just sometimes it's not your tenants, sometimes it's the neighbors. You know, sometimes it's like contractors. Like I've had contractors like so one contract. This goes back like I feel like I don't know. Like you do this long enough and you have shit that happens regardless, and you have funny stories. But like I had this one contractor, and he did my cottage with somebody else, and actually it worked out really fine. I'm like okay, cool. So then he ended up doing this Brantford house, and he got back into hard drugs. And like I'm telling you, like some of the walls were like so crooked. And so we had to fire him midway.
Oh,
and
no.
My wife got so pissed. When the house was done, she threw a rock like actually at the window, and the tenants were there. And then we had to replace the window. Like we never like could prove that it was them, but. Anyways,
wow.
There's shit that happens in this industry, but the grand scheme of things, regardless, you look at it and you look at the positive, and that's how you gotta keep going, because otherwise you're gonna like.
Yeah, I like our plumber did a good job on us in one property. So for some reason, when we bought the place, it's a duplex, and there was one hot water tank. We're like, we're gonna split it because there's 2 meters, one hot water tank. This is bound to go sour. And of course he's like, oh well, all the plumbing's all messed up, let me do it quickly. So then he does it and connects only one sink to the one hot water tank, so it's super hot, and then the rest of the house is super cold. And that's where we had the really good tenant who was like measuring the temperature. There's 1 degree between the kitchen and the bathroom. It's not the same hot water tank. And then it went on for months. They had to
it was a nightmare.
And then he would cut off waters and leave, and then say, oh well, the water in the sink is not working. Well, you didn't check. I mean, you're a plumber, what's wrong with you? Anyway, it was just constant for how long did it last? 4 months?
Yeah,
5 months?
a few months. Yeah, it was a nightmare.
Every week, plumbing issue, and it's just every time like, okay, this time I'm standing here, I'm watching you fix it. This is enough.
Yeah, I literally did stand there with my phone and just text people while the plumber worked so that I could watch him. I'm like, wait, I'm going to test. Shut off this water tank. Okay, and then I'm running around. Okay, that has water hotter. That has water hotter. Okay, now I'm going to shut off the other tank and check where's the hot water.
Yeah.
Anyway, it worked out.
Sometimes it's your team. You got to replace your team as well, right?
Yes.
It's going to be the same today than it might be 5 years down the road or 10 years down the road. So pick people that you can grow with, but sometimes you got to like fire them or get rid of them and hire ones that are going to be able to like help you get to the next level. And you know, I think that's the thing. And actually, you know what? We weren't even planning on talking about the shit that happens with landlording and real estate investing, but it's fun. Like, I think people enjoyed it. Do you guys enjoy it? That, you know, if you're listening to this, I'll tell you, there's a lot of shit that we put on Instagram that is like all the fun things. And yeah, it's tons of fun, and like the good outweighs the bad, but there is still a bunch of crap that happens.
Oh yeah.
Gotta have the personality to not care about it.
Oh, we have a comment.
Yeah.
I have a tenant who I'm renting an apartment to. She's got a little dog. We normally don't do this, but she promised the dog is trained, but we are starting to smell pee and poo. Yeah, and legally, if you're in Ontario, you can't even say no to pets unless it's a condo, so ouch.
That's tough.
Yeah, what do you say, Sarah?
I would have a conversation with them, right? I would just say, like, it kind of smells. Can you let me know what, you know, if there's something that you can do? You start inspecting it like every 3 months if you can. I mean, they're technically responsible for damage.
Yeah.
Cause, right? So just keep that. I mean, again, you have to go to the board, and it's going to be a little bit, you know, more cumbersome, but I would start inspecting it more often until they get rid of the smell, and you can let them know that that's what you need to do. So you have to give them 24 hours notice, and you have to be reasonable about it, but it's like, if you need to go every 2 months, you go every 2 months, and you just ask them to like make sure that they clean up. But if like, here's the thing, I have a dog, and my house does not smell like dog. So like they're clearly not cleaning up after it, letting the fester or something like that. So you know, they're probably not walking the dog enough. They're probably not crating it. Like there's certain things that they have to do, but anything that that's damaging your property, I would ask them to cover the cost of that. But I do more walkthroughs and go from there.
And I get super anal about it. Like if there's a filter for a furnace, go every month, change the filter. Hey, what's happening? Or like batteries, I have to check the fire alarms. And really, you should once a month anyway check in on that, unless they're like, I don't know, remote censored or something. But you're supposed to check in once a month and keep a register. So look at the dog too, like what's going on. And
yes,
yeah.
And if the dog is damaging the property, like actually peeing and pooing on the floor, you can't start the eviction process. Yeah. It's very long and painful.
That's it. And allergies too. So let's say it's a multi-family, then if a tenant is allergic, then that is grounds for removing pets or not allowing pets. So there's a few exceptions, but you have to kind of prove it. So I don't know.
But just even having a conversation, hey, you know what, like I approved this dog, but like it really is smelling really bad. Like, can you know, try to figure out a way to clean it? Like, I don't, there's clearly, they're clearly not cleaning up after the dog. Cause my house has never smelled like dog. I'm sure you guys have, you know, pets, or you've had pets at some point, you know, they're just not cleaning up after it. So, you know, it's unfortunate, but I would start the process if they're not cooperative, or start talking to them about it and just let them know that like this is your property, and you know, it's like shit smell and pee smell is. But I can tell you, as an investor, when I buy this stuff, I love it because you can get some good prices and some good discounts. But yeah, at the end of the, and here's the other thing is I do allow pets in my units. I do not allow puppies. And even my Airbnbs, I allow pets, but no small puppies. Because I found, like, and again, another horror story, like I had done awesome on this property, and one of my tenants got a puppy, fine, but it ended up chewing like the kitchen, like cabinets, and the like,
oh boy,
like just like parts of the wall. Like it was the weirdest thing ever. So anyways, no puppies. Puppies chew. And they ruin stuff. So as long as they're like well behaved and care, but as much as possible, I try to avoid the small dogs. And that's it. So guys, thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you.
Jennifer, Francois, great talking to you guys. Tune back in next week, same time, and we can share some more horror stories.
Yes. Hopefully there's none. Maybe there's positive stuff.
Always positive, but I can tell you the positive is always on Instagram. We always see the positive. There is negative to it too. It is not all perfect, and there is shit happens, and we gotta be okay with that, right? Because to get to our goals, we gotta go through some hurdles, and that's just how it is. So awesome. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Have a good night.
Bye.
See you later.
Bye.